everybody, this is Matthew Movies coming at you with my review of Spider-Man Homecoming, the 2017 film, which is the latest version of the Spider-Man mythos to hit the screen, and for me, one of the better ones. I won't quite say it's my favorite Spider-Man film yet, not quite, but it's up there, and it's a movie that I really enjoyed a lot. Introduced me to a lot of new characters, several of which I really enjoyed, and then played back some characters that I loved in the past and did a great job with them as well. Not perfect. I did think that there were some characters that were like a little iffy as well, but overall I had a great deal of fun with this movie. Starting off with Tom Holland, the guy who played Spider-Man himself. I mean, he was just fantastic in this movie. He really, to me, is the best actor to play Spider-Man so far, because I loved Tobey Maguire back in the day, but I thought he was a fantastic Peter, but I never loved him as Spider-Man. I never thought that he had that free-willing, fun nature to him that I always knew Spider-Man to have. He never just hit that for me, so I always enjoyed him. I still thought he was a very good Spider-Man, but he just didn't quite hit all of the marks for me. Then you had Andrew Garfield, who actually I thought did a better job of being that jokester under the suit, but I thought he was a horrendous Peter. I mean, the guy was so busy trying to look cool, and that's just not who Peter is whatsoever. And then you have this movie where I thought it was just absolutely perfect. When I say Andrew Garfield was trying to look cool, I mean like it was like the character was cool. He was a guy who was succeeding at looking cool. And you had this movie here where, you know, you do have Peter occasionally attempting to look cool, but it never works out for him. Everybody knows him as just the kind of nerdy guy, the super smart guy, and you know, he's not getting picked on left, right, and center except for by one dude. But overall, you know, he's well liked enough, but he's also very nebbish and really enjoys like figuring stuff out. And he's a great Peter, and he's a phenomenal Spider-Man. I mean, like when he starts throwing out the jokes, it's just absolutely great, especially when he interacts with some characters that you already grown to love from other movies, other shows like Community, for instance. So, I mean, he was just great as the character. I loved Michael Keaton's work in this movie. I thought that he played such an interesting bad guy, because he wasn't, you know, he wasn't this black and white evil dude. He had the reasoning for what he was doing was actually fairly solid, except for, of course, when the things he did and the danger he caused to all those around him. But you understood who he was and why he was doing the things he was, and how he felt screwed over by everybody and everything, and how he was going to get his and make sure that, you know, he could take care of his family. There was you know, a modicum of respect that you could have for what he was trying to become and trying to attain, even if you did not get behind his methods. And I thought that his Vulture suit, I know a lot of people didn't seem to like it, but I actually liked it quite a bit. I didn't love it, you know, it wasn't perfect. It was definitely like a little bit on the bland side. It was another like kind of robotic suit for sure. But you know, you compare it to, like, for instance, the Green Goblin suit in the original Spider-Man movie, I thought was much lamer than this. And I overall liked it. I thought that, you know, having the eyes pop up was a very cool effect. I liked the actual physicality of the wings and what he was able to do with them. I thought that was all really fun and cool, and I really enjoyed the Vulture in this film quite a bit. And then you have Iron Man jumping into the foray, and I know that there are some people who felt like he was kind of tacked on and they were just putting him there to play to the MCU, and you know, I definitely do think that there was a you know, businessman in the back being like, ooh, if we get Tony in there, but I also thought that he fit the story perfectly, especially coming out of Civil War, where he's the guy who brought Peter in and into that fight, and to have him just, you know, drop him off on his doorstep and ignore him from that point forward, well, that wouldn't have fit the character whatsoever. And I also really enjoyed like how you had all these elements of like Tony seeing himself in Peter and like trying to mentor him to become a better person, and like when he makes mistakes, where it seemed like Tony was seeing some of himself in there, that like rush to prove himself and the hubris. I thought that was all handled very very, very well. And I enjoyed all the moments with Tony. There wasn't a moment with him that didn't work for me really in this whole film. I mean, there were some that were better than others, of course, but overall, I really enjoyed his incorporation. I thought they did a solid job. And then you brought in Happy Hogan from the Iron Man series, which I thought that was a really, really cool touch. I mean, he's very, very, very entertaining in this as Tony's assistant, who really doesn't want to have much more to do with Peter and is always put off by his constant like pestering him to try to get new stuff. I thought that was very well handled. Now, Aunt May is a little bit of a asterisk for me. I thought Marissa Tomei played the character as written very, very well, and I understand why she is handled the way she is. I mean, it never really did make complete sense to me where Aunt May is supposed to be the sister of Peter's mother, but she feels like she's so much older than him. I mean, I get it, that is a thing that happens in real life, but it was not necessary. And I understand why they'd want to age her down a little bit and make her more of a little bit more of a buddy instead of the soothsayer in Peter's life. I get all that. But at the same time, that's just not my Aunt May. And, you know, I think as the films progress, I'll get more used to it. And even as I rewatch this, I think that won't bother me as much. And I wouldn't even say it really bothered me in this. It was just, you know, it's hard for me to look at her as Aunt May. And maybe over time that will be lessened. But for now, I'd say that's the major detriment of that character, at no fault of the work of Marissa Tomei. Then you had Zendaya as Michelle in this movie, and I thought she was pretty entertaining. I thought there was times where they played it a little bit too far, where she was the sullen teenager a little bit too much. But you know, that is the way some teens end up being for at least a while. And I did enjoy her like acerbic sense of humor. I thought that was pretty good. And when they kept revealing little skills that she had, I think that there was a lot of potential there for later films of where they could potentially take that character, so that was cool. I really, really enjoyed how they used the character of Ned, his best buddy, the guy who was always there for him, the guy who was just absolutely lovable in this movie. That was just really, really cool to see. And I thought the guy who played him did a fantastic job. I mean, when I see articles out there, he seems to be like one of the people that aren't on there. Like, even if you look on the Wikipedia page, the guy doesn't even have his own like little bulletin in there, which I think is a real shame. Bullet point, I should say. He is a real shame, because I think he is one of the strengths of this movie by far. And I love like some of the runners where he wanted to be the guy in the chair, all that stuff. I thought that was very, very well handled. And his little kind of buddy there I thought was great. And speaking of little buddies, I thought some of the henchmen of the Vulture were great. I really, really enjoyed how they had like introduced some of the characters from the comics there. I'm not going to go into who is who, because if you haven't seen this movie, I don't want to ruin that for you. I was very excited when I found out who was playing who in various sequences and how that might play in later films, or in some cases might not. I thought that was very well handled. I mean, having Donald Glover in there was awesome, especially the guy had the campaign to play Miles Morales a few years back, and he's a little old for it yet, but I like it kind of felt like they could have set him up potentially to have a role in the film in the future. Probably not, but I really liked his character in there, where he's more of like the street smart guy and schooling Peter in that scene. I thought that was very, very well handled. And I will say, I'd say of all the characters in this film, the one that spoke to me the least would be Liz, the romantic interest. I thought she was perfectly serviceable, and there's no fault of the actress. I just thought she was underwritten, and that was a little bit of a disappointment, because one of the major mainstays of the series is the romance in them. It's a major element. I mean, I'm not a fan of the Amazing Spider-Man movies whatsoever, but I did at parts think they did a pretty great job of Gwen and Peter's relationship. So to have the relationship kind of take the background here I felt was a little bit disappointing. But it did set up a pretty fantastic moment for sure, and set up some interesting stuff. And then another character that I didn't like all that much in this was how they handled Flash, because again, I don't want to complain too much about it, things being different than the comics, but that is just not at all the character that I know. And I thought the guy who they had play him, who was in the Grand Budapest Hotel as well, did a great job. He had this kind of false sense of superiority, You could tell that there was also a little bit of self-confidence issues that were underlying all that. So that was all really fun, but it was also kind of a bit of a twist on the character. Didn't necessarily fully work for me. So those are my thoughts on Spider-Man Homecoming. Let me know in the comment section below what you think. I mean, I'm not going to go too much into the plot, but I did think that the plot was handled very well. The big fight at the end was awesome. Overall, I just had a lot of fun with this movie. So let me know what you think. Other than that, please hit that like button, hit that share button. It makes me much more likely that other people will come check out this video and let me know what they think, which is something I absolutely love because I love talking movies with people. And speaking of which, if you haven't done it yet, please hit subscribe, hit that notification bell. If you're new here, if you've come here before, I love talking to people about movies. So please be one of those people. Other than that, have yourself a good day.